Lab fires, now what? How do we handle it? What are our hazards? Do I have the right PPE? How do I handle suspects and victims? What about overhaul, an active fire? And what happens after the fire's out and I recognize that, hey, this might have been caused by a meth lab? Now what are my exposures? Do I have to worry about my gear, my guys? What about something as simple as passing a random drug test? All these questions come to mind after the event. When we know up front, it's a little bit easier to plan for it. But when we stumble across these scenes, it's a little more challenging. So in this class, we're going to look at the different methods, in particular the one-pot lab. The one-pot lab, or the shake and bake method, has made meth labs so easy to make, they can be virtually anywhere. Where traditionally we mostly saw meth labs in rural areas or isolated areas, now with the meth lab I can do it in my apartment, I can do it in my closet, I can do it in my dorm room, workplace, anywhere. So what are these new symptoms and how do I recognize this? What are these new products and processes? So we're going to look at the one-pot meth lab, specifically each step, so we can recognize the signs and symptoms and recognize when I have a hazard and when I don't. Then we're going to talk about how to decon patients. We're also going to talk about the old-fashioned Birch-Natsir method, where people have to steal anhydrous ammonia, and we'll go through that process again so that we can identify when we stumble across these on a medical run or a fire or during a fire investigation, that we can identify these components so that we can protect ourselves. Also, we want to look at how do we handle victims and suspects? Do I have to do anything special? So we'll talk about all these and we'll break it down looking at the chemical hazards and looking at things from a scientific basis, and we'll try to dispel some of these urban myths about the different hazards. We've all seen the Faces of Death presentation or Faces of Meth presentation that the police have done for years, and we understand that if I'm a meth addict or I'm a meth user, it's going to break my body down, and it's very visual. You can see it very easily. But what about for first responders? How do we protect ourselves to prevent damage? So that's what we're going to talk about. I hope to see you guys there. Meth lab fires, now what?